Welcome back to Book Plus. Welcome, Amanda, again, night 2. How
Hello.
you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm just full of smiles after tonight's show. I'm feeling good.
Phish will do that for you.
Yeah.
No matter what you have going
Aw,
on in your life, you sit down and listen to some Phish, and you usually, more times than not, you'll be smiling.
I tell
Um,
you.
Before we get into it tonight, I want to do a couple of housekeeping things real quick. I want to remind everybody that we now have memberships for the YouTube channel, and we're going to keep adding perks throughout. But if you want to hit join, and actually, one of the first things we're doing is I stumbled across some old stickers, some old 1.0, 2.0 Wook Plus stickers. So if you're a member and you want those stickers, email us at intern@wookplus.com or message us on YouTube, and I'll be sending out a bunch of stickers. But we got all sorts of stuff planned, so check that out. Also, we're doing double headers all weekend, so Kev and Llama will be 15 minutes at the Dead & Co. Show tonight, so check that out. And the last thing, I just wanted to thank everybody. I was thinking about it all day today. We've gotten a little bit of a surge of new viewers over the last month or two, and I just really appreciate all you guys supporting the channel and checking it out. I mean, I know this is silly wookery and everything, but we all really enjoy it, and we appreciate the shit out of all you guys hanging out with us and shooting the shit and talking Phish, which is exactly what we are going to do right now. So let's get into talking some Phish. Let's bring this set up.
Here we go.
Boom. Amanda,
Wow.
why don't you take us off with this, with Runaway Jim? What'd you think?
Let's do it. Well, first, I mean, just look at that set list right there. It's heavy hitters, but I know we're going to get to everything. You know, even though this one hasn't opened a show in quite some time, I think like 2015 or so, it is such a classic show opener. And I feel like I just immediately am ready, to see what's going to happen here. So for me, that old school start is just always so welcomed. And I think, in the 11 or so minutes that they had with this, that they did a pretty good job with it. Got some good wah action from Trey. What did you think?
It was a very strong start to the show, I think, and it set the tone. One of the things you notice when you look at the set list for the whole show, but in particular the first set, is that older vintage. The past couple of shows have been in the early 2000s, 2003, 2004. This set was in 1996. So if you don't know what I mean by vintage, it's some terminology that I don't know who started it. I didn't come up with it, but it's the average debut year of the songs in the set, and it's a really neat way, especially nowadays, to get a quick sense of where the set is. This set was 96, so we just cut 8 years off of the vintage of the last couple of years. So and I think this Jim foam was really set the tone with that little old school feel to it, and they played it well. I think it was just really well executed.
Absolutely. Yeah, and then, I called it a twangy foam. I was catching a little, like, country western vibe in there, intentional or not. I was digging it. I'm like, "Okay, let's go with it," and I was telling you, before we started that not only for me, but a few of us were doing a hunt account when foam and then, the rest of the set kinda went forward, but it was a great, great way to, continue that. Like, Tom said, that kinda opener is just classic. So, really good.
Yeah, very traditional. I'm all about foam. I can't complain. I don't know anyone that would complain, honestly. Who can complain about a foam? It's a
I
great.
wonder, but I bet it's out there.
Yeah, and you were telling me too in the green room that you had that anti-stat about how cemented foam is in the first set. I found that kind of interesting.
I love that you called it the anti-stat because now I'm gonna call it those things that forever. Yeah, so, I'm always just checking things out like a lot of us do, and I know that foam is so cemented in set 1, but I was curious, it hasn't been played outside of set 1 from what I could see since 1997. So,
Yeah,
just fun stuff. It kinda makes you realize I'm not imagining it. It's a set 1 song.
it is. It is 100%, and it works there. So cool. We get a little bit out of the classic old school 90s feel. Not a little bit. We get way the fuck out of it with Set Your Soul Free. But I got to be honest, I'm okay with it. I
Mhm.
really, really liked what they did with it. It was, again, another one of those safe set 1 jams that they've been doing this tour. But that's good. It gives them, it sets up the rest of the show so well. And I really found myself enjoying this Set Your Soul Free.
Yeah, it gets us a little bit more into a little bit of that funk feel, not quite all the way, but it's getting us there. I have to say their harmonies have, like, sounded great on this one. I think vocal-wise, in terms of just what they're able to do, I feel like, they continue to strive. So I was listening for that.
Yeah, they've been improving the vocals, especially Trey with Broccoli. That's his new vocal coach has been really pushing it. Sometimes, and I haven't heard it yet this tour, but last tour he was doing these weird vocal inflections and things, and like really going for it, and it was
Mhm.
kind of distracting from the songs. I wasn't loving that,
Yep.
but the improvement in the vocal range is awesome. Um, yeah, no, I love that. I don't want to skip too quickly through this set, but again, it's kind of like yesterday. It was a very serviceable set. It was a very solid set, but there
Mhm.
wasn't a ton I felt like that like stood out as holy shit. Like, and I'm giving this disclaimer again. The Fluffhead was great. It was a very solid Fluffhead,
Mhm.
but I'm not like stat dropping, but I've heard this good of a Fluffhead, probably 2 dozen times. It wasn't the best Fluffhead. It wasn't the worst Fluffhead. It was just a very
Yeah.
good functional Fluffhead. Kev, aren't you supposed to be watching Dead and Co?
Hey. Hey. He's multitasking.
Yeah, that's
Good to see you
funny.
again.
He's
Yeah, I kinda agree with you, and for me to say that I felt like, everything's right, kind of covered a little more ground than Fluffhead is not it's not a bash on anything. I just think if I were gonna look between the 2 of them, I felt like there were some really great sections within Everything's Right tonight, some good stuff in there. I heard a little more Mike maybe than last night too. I was kinda picking that up by this part of set 1.
Yeah, it's so funny because every time Mike sticks out to me, like in the mix, I think about last year and the outcry to get more Mike in the mix and how they really kind of botched the mix for the whole half of tour. They're not even close to botching it this year. I feel like
Mhm.
the mix has been phenomenal. And Mike is very present in the jams. Everything's right in particular. I felt like they finally started to explore for the first time in the set
Mhm.
and go a little bit. I mean, the Say Your Soul Free had a tiny bit, but it was very much, major melodic and kind of a type one. And I felt like the Everything's Right jam explored a little bit. They still didn't get fully out of their comfort zone in the first
Yeah.
set, but I had a little bit more going for it, I think.
Yeah, yeah,
Really enjoyed it.
absolutely. I did too, and I think for, the time they had with it, they did a lot, at least for within the set. I thought that was definitely a good moment.
Jordan, I'm watching the chat, but you aren't saying shit worth mentioning. What do you want me to say? Give us something good. I'll bring it
You
up.
need more anti-stats? I can find them. Just give me a second.
Damn. Damn, Jordan. Uh, and then Golgi, they didn't fuck it up. Is that the new standard? That's kind of my new standard for Golgi because I've seen a lot of them in the past few years where
Mhm.
they've messed it up. I'm thinking Charleston and what MSG where they just like missed the mark. So if they
Yeah.
didn't fuck it up, I think that's the mark. I think cool. I'm happy.
Yeah, you get these super technical songs, they've been playing them forever, right? I mean, and it's a heavy hitter on top of it, so I think there's just a lot that I go into hoping for with this one, and, it's a utility player song. I'll take it at the end of a set, wherever they wanna pop it. It's a good one, good energy.
Yeah, I agree. Um, no, Jordan, I haven't seen the new dog toys. You should hit me up with those. That's interesting.
I saw a tweet about that, Jordan. Yeah, I saw that.
Oh, I missed it. Somebody's
Yeah.
gonna have to tag me in that. I could check it out. So that brings us to the set break. Go ahead and like this video if you haven't yet. It means a lot to us. Subscribe to the channel. We have a tremendous amount of great Wook content coming up in the coming months, and the best way to see it is to subscribe and actually ring the bell for notifications. But not many people do that shit, so I'm not gonna feel bad if you don't. It's probably a good idea. Um, what else? Oh, and we have Ask Matt coming up. Kev's probably wants me to plug that. So on the 20th, so shit, 5 days? Is it really in 5 days? We're gonna have Matt Bush on the channel, and he's gonna answer viewer submitted questions, but he wants to read them ahead of time. So you got to get them in like ASAP. So hit us up with hashtag Ask Matt and get your questions on the show. That's gonna be great. So let's go into this second set. What a set this was. Holy smokes. Holy smokes. This was a great set. What do you think, Amanda? I like when you started off. Hey,
You just
Brandon. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you
all
off,
right.
but we got
We
a
got
new
a
member.
new member. I saw that, and it's really clear too. I like that. That green really
Yeah.
stands out. Welcome, Brandon. Yeah. So, all right, I'll say this. Looking at the songs here, I would be curious to see how other people feel. Opening up with a Rift. Okay, it was good. I mean, I'm never gonna dog Rift, right? It's an excellent start, but then anytime there's that tweezer, you just know and hope something's great's going to happen. And I think this was the second song this tour to hit 20 minutes and then some, right? I mean, it
Yeah, quite a
really
bit
went
more.
deep. Yeah, went way deep. So I was curious what some of your highlights were from that tweezer.
Yeah, I mean, I like so I'm going to explain it, I guess, a little bit a roundabout way. I apologize, but I think this is a jam that's worth diving into a little bit deeper.
Yeah, let's talk
A
about it.
lot of times with jams, I feel like Trey is just, ripping, doing some trills, doing some crazy shit or some wow, wow. And the jam almost trickles down, right? Where it's like the rest of the band is waiting and he like sets the tone or sets the jam and then everybody else kind of comes in underneath. I am not particularly fond of those types of jams comparative to what this jam was, is where it's built from the bottom up, where they fall into a groove. It has a melodic quality to it. And then Trey starts to rip over it,
Mhm.
right? Like obviously nobody's questioning how phenomenal Trey is at playing guitar, but specific to the jams, I love it when it's built from the bottom up. I also really liked how this was uh segmented into phases, but
Mhm.
not like Alpine Ruby Waves or Tahoe Tweezer, where it was like chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. Like this felt very organic, where they were like, we're in a bliss jam, and now we're into like this off kilter kind of synthy thing. Now we're driving into this funk, and then we're going more traditional. But it wasn't just here's a section, here's a section, here's a section, right? A lot of the times when they get in these mega jams, they just feel like we did this for 5 minutes, we turn the page. Now we did this for 7 minutes, we turn the page. I thought tonight's tweezer was one of the beautiful parts about it was how fresh it was and how organic they went through these different phases with it. But yeah, that's all to say. I really liked it. It was
It's
fucking top
good.
notch.
Now, some of the things that I was thinking as I was listening is it felt somehow patient to me,
Mm-hmm.
cohesive in that sense that it felt like they were all kind of working toward the same goal there. And whether they actually were or not, or if it just happened, I don't know. But it felt to me like as we went through tonight's version, I was actually really curious to see where it was going to go next.
Yeah, no,
And
it kept you right on the edge of your seat,
yeah,
right?
I was really hanging there. Not to say I don't do that every time, but, there are gonna be those moments where it kinda just catches your ear because it's different. And so I'm excited to go back and listen to this one again for sure.
Yeah, this is probably top of my list. And actually, not to besmirch the rest of the tour, but I haven't yet this run or this tour had a song where I was like eager to go back. I've
Mhm.
gone back and listened to a couple of things. I was curious about that Fuego the other night. I was curious. I listened to Ruby Waves again today. But this tweezer is the one where I like almost can't wait. Like almost as soon as we get off of this after show, I'm gonna probably go back and re-listen to it because it had so much going on in it.
It
Uh
does. Absolutely. You could lose yourself in it, but at the same time, it just keeps you right there.
yeah. It'll be interesting though. A lot of times when you get these types of moments, we're very quick to oh yeah, Jordan, hell yeah. My friend, see, now I'm sensitive to Jordan. As soon as he comments, I have to bring him. That was probably why he said that shit in the first place. He's playing head games with me. No, I did go back and listen to my friend. Fuck, he just threw me completely off my train of thought.
Brian, I heard that too, the tease. Definitely, I forgot to mention that, but yeah, no, that was in there, but I can't remember exactly where because it was such a long, kind of multi-phase tweezer. But I had written that. Let me see. Did I write that down? I don't know if any of you know my notes. So yeah, Lion sleeps tonight right there. Good call.
I wonder why that was in his head or where that came from. It's very interesting the teases that they choose to do.
Tell ya. I guess when you've been playing that long and you're that good, you probably just have muscle memory for the most random shit.
Right. Like, I get shit caught in my head, like, my daughter's watching something, like, we're real big in our house with Bluey, and, like, hours will go by, I'll be cutting along, and all of a sudden, I'll be like, "Da, da, 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 da," and it just gets stuck in your damn head. If you don't have kids, everybody's like, "What the hell is he talking about?" But if you
I'm
do,
with
you
you.
probably have that shit stuck in your head constantly. Um, and then, you know what? They weren't even done there. So they had this phenomenal tweezer, and then I thought the golden age was really nice too. I mean, it was short, but I kind of was digging it.
I don't know. It
You
didn't
don't like
really
it?
like, I'm a fan of the
That's
song,
okay.
right? Like, I have nothing against the song, but maybe coming off of that tweezer, you have to reset expectations for things, and
Yeah.
I felt like maybe it wasn't quite getting the way that I think that song can, and that's fine, that can't happen every single time. It was a little bit shorter than normal, although I did really like that kinda, like, distorted ending that they had as they were, moving out of it, and I didn't know if that was just because like, "We're ready to get out of this song, let's just do something," but, something a little different.
I always am guilty of the post jam glow. I was
Yeah.
talking about that the other night too. Is if you give me that kind of tweezer, you really could get away with a lot of shit afterwards. Because I'm like, I'm okay. Just this
You're
felt
cool.
good. It was good. It was good. It was nice.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, that's kinda how I felt about Golden Age. It was alright, just maybe I just was kinda needed to take a breather a little bit. So maybe that's good,
Just gonna lay down, smoke a cigarette. I'll come
That's
back,
right, just have a
eat a
moment.
sandwich. Yeah, it's fine. Um, I always wanted it this way. In fact, it's how I've always wanted it. And they've done it a couple times. It's more of a joke, but I do like when they take this one out for a walk and give a little bit more to it. Yeah, it was nice. What'd you think?
Well, I mean, so this one, if I'm remembering correctly, this is part of that Petrichor era, right? That like
Mm-hmm.
2016-ish
Yep.
time frame, and I forget about this one sometimes. I'm just gonna be totally honest. This is not a song that necessarily is always in my head when I'm thinking about Fish. So I like to hear it because it's got such good like rocking moments. That electric piano, synth, all those lines that Paige is playing, like it's great. And I thought they ripped into some great jams with this one. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, really nice jams. I did that whole tour in 2016. They did the
Mhm.
fall tour. They did like the southeast leg, where it's like Charleston and Florida and Georgia and Nashville and like I forget, but it was like that whole. And they played that album constantly. It was one of those tours where every show you got basically like the same 5 or 6 songs. And I think I caught this like maybe 2 times that tour, 2 or 3, and it was the only one that would repeat and I would be excited about. I think a lot of the songs from that era or that album I wasn't super keen on at the time, but I this one always felt nice in a set. It's a nice palate cleanser. You were talking about palate cleansers yesterday, right?
It was, and you need one, right? Like, one way or another, you need that. Yeah, the grooves in this are great. I definitely need to pay more attention just in general to what this song can do because 'cause I'm always reminded of that. I feel like they
Yeah.
definitely can take this one out, for a while.
Yeah, it's like a musical palate cleanser for me too,
Mhm.
because the EDM thing is so different than all of the stuff you heard for the rest of the night that it kind of like, resets things.
Yeah, and, like, a rockin' Page tune too is kind of fun, you know?
Yeah.
Not the ballad, it's, like, probably different for him, I'm assuming that he loves it.
Yeah, no, he definitely you could tell he really likes this one. And then they go back into Tweezer, which is cool. It was super short. They had potential to make it a little more with it.
Yeah.
It's
So
almost confusing why they did a little bit.
Well, I think Fish was a little bit confused, and this is another one I wanna go back to, just that moment. It almost felt like Fishman was trying to catch up with being back into Tweezer. He was, like, just so into what he was doing, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Okay, I'm here." So I'm like, I wonder if Trey just went for it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, we're just gonna go back to it for a couple minutes.
And I love that organicness too. I noticed the playing a bit more tonight. There were a little bit more flubs, but it felt like they were loose and just going for things. If they fuck up, then who cares? They're just going for it. But yeah, they didn't stick to
Mhm,
it though. It was like a
mhm.
minute and a half or so, and they were out. But we got a hood, and I think this is one of the better ways to close out a show. And they jammed it a little bit, not a ton, but it was it was nice. What'd you think about the hood?
It was all right. I mean, I think that there's nothing wrong with it at all. I think that some songs, like these signal what's about to happen. And so psychologically, sometimes it's just nice to get a hood because you kind of know this is where we're at, going to be heading into Encore soon. I will say I saw a tweet about someone who was thinking that Harry Hood for them is super like emotional song. And I'd never thought of it that way. So it just goes to show that we all hear things in our own way. But that one I had never seen anybody talk about before.
Yeah, with the deep emotional
Deep
connection.
emotional connection to Hood. So I kind of want to investigate that a little bit. I might have to go back.
I actually have a memory when my wife and I were dating in college, and it was, I guess, maybe cliche, but like introducing her to the band, and we were laying down on a blanket listening to this song, and I was telling her a story, and then she's like, continued the story through the music, which is a weird thing, but like I don't know, it took over the narration. So we're like, I don't know, it's a hard thing to explain without being there. But that moment in that like date, listening to Hood and talking about the story is so I actually think I do have that emotional connection because it's a very personal thing. It has nothing to do with the performance. It wasn't even at a show, it was just a recording of it. But every time I hear it, I get kind of like that, those warm and fuzzies inside. You were telling me too that you're starting to get a little bit having a little bit of emotions in this encore.
It was weird. I'm not used to that with these guys. So yeah, it kind of caught me off guard. But okay, so I definitely can remember very vividly coming on here for some after shows in the past and just ragging on Life Beyond a Dream, just in general.
As one does.
As one does. It's not tab, whatever. Okay, fine. I don't need to get into it. But there was something about tonight where I was like, okay, I'm not as excited about If I Could last night. That just felt really connected to the show somehow. It seemed to really fit. I don't know if this one necessarily does, but I've come a long way with it. And maybe it's also that I'm just used to hearing it before a Tweeprize. Because I think like pretty much at least half the times it's been played as an encore, that's what happens. So you kind of know what's coming up.
Yeah, and especially tonight because we had a good sense of when they were going to be wrapping up.
Mm-hmm.
And so you knew that it wasn't going to be the only one. I feel like if you only had time for one song and they dropped into this, I probably would be more disappointed. But when you have a bit of a time, a length of time for the encore, it's kind of nice. It's like sets a mild tone before they come back with Reprise and kill it. I think that emotion is really important for that song, though. I don't know if it works well without it. Like, I think that's almost what the song relies on is like it needs people to have an emotional connection with it. And a lot of people do and a lot of people don't.
Yeah. And it depends on what's happening, right? Like for me right now, that one, it was great. It got me right where I needed. So I was happy for it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I liked it. And I am glad that we got, well, I don't know about glad. I saw somebody, I think it might have been Zissix asking about it, but there's the play Tweezer on night 1 and play Reprise on night 3, but it's weird on night 2. Was there a question about if they were going to go into Reprise? Has it ever been like a 2-3 split? I don't know if that's ever happened. But I personally, I like the same night. I like that.
Yeah.
And then and then we got the fake out. I at least I was. Everybody's like, all right, that's it. Good night, everybody. And then you get big black furry creatures from Mars, which is fucking awesome. How much fun is that?
Oh, good. What were we saying in the green room? Something about how only Phish could make, faux death metal so cute and fun.
Just absolutely adorable.
Just wonderful. Yeah, it's one of the only songs to be slightly less complex than Contact. So it actually has quite a pedigree. Yeah.
Yeah.
This one.
I thought the same thing though when like Trey's like getting down on the ground and they're adjusting their mics. I was like, they're so adorable. There's like with that head faux death metal. Oh, it's amazing. But yeah, it was a great show. And I'm excited for tomorrow night. I can't wait to do this one more time. And I really appreciate thank you again, Amanda, for joining us and being part of this after show. It's really been a pleasure doing these with you. I'm looking forward to tomorrow night as well.
Love a night 3, love a Sunday. Can't wait.
All right, everybody, like and subscribe. We'll see you tomorrow night. And don't forget to tune in for the Dead & Co. after show a little bit later tonight. See you next time.
Yeah.